No, no,
There
no,
we go.
no. All right, for realsies this time. La la! Hey, everybody. So I want to welcome you to Third Eye Salon. I am Kat Udero, empath, entrepreneur, and psychic wrangler. We have got an amazing show for you today. If this is your first time to Third Eye Salon, or if you are a repeat offender, you should know that each and every week, we look between the veils of reality to see what's really going on beneath what we can see through the matrix, through the hologram. And this week, we are looking between the veils of what it means to be an ET contactee, what it means to wake up through what I would call quantum healing, finding your star self, and many other stories from our Galaxy Gal guest, Atheria. And to help us do that today, we are going to be hanging out with my bestie and our co-host, Linda Colder-Burge. Hey, Linda.
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you. I love our Saturday get-togethers. I am a psychic conscious business coach, and I will be your live stream chat host, which means you either play nice or you get out, because I don't have any tolerance for people who are going to be mean to other people. And
Amen.
So it's my space, my house, my rules, and it is for your security and for you to be how beautiful you can be in this time. And there's my phone going off because I forgot to turn it off. How funny is that? I'm the one that always says that. Anyway, please like, share, subscribe, and if you want to know when we show up, ring the bell. You can change those settings so you get every single one of them. Did you know that? Do that so that you can help us grow our community. And those people in your life that you just wish they could get some of this, kindly share the videos that you think that might resonate with them, and maybe a different one will resonate with them. So help us build this community, because we are all about love and rejoice and exploration. So be sure on that note to check out the links below. So everything we're going to be talking about is going to be in those links. And for those of you who have been so gracious to donate to us and buy us a coffee for Third Eye Salon, thank you so much. It helps us do the things that we need to do. We don't take salaries for this. This is to help the structure to build for us as a community. So thank you for those. And we would love for you to join our Facebook group and our event page, because through our event page, you can share the actual upcoming events. Our Facebook group is closed so that we can have a more safe community. And those event pages allow you to share. So if you're going to come to an event, also say you're going to come to an event, because the more people that say they're coming to an event, the more people want to come to an event. It's just the way we are. We're herd animals. So with that, I want to welcome our guest, and I want to say a special hello, Preston, before we get there. But I want to welcome Atheria, and I'm so excited to hear about, oh my gosh, so many different experiences.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm flattered that you guys want to talk to me. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've had some pretty
pleasure.
Cool stuff. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say it's our absolute pleasure. Yeah, we stole you off Jeff Mara. That's where I'm stealing a lot of people these days, because I feel like he cracks the egg, and then we take the egg here and we make the omelet, and we like find out a little bit more. We go more in depth. That's the goal, to really kind of go over some of the finer details of these wild and wonderful experiences. So we're going to hop back to Atheria, but before we do that, I also want to make sure that we welcome Preston Dennett, our special guest host. Preston, we are blessed to have you. How exciting. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, it's an honor and a pleasure. I am excited. Thanks for the invite. This should be all kinds of fun. Love exploring this subject, and yeah, I'm excited to hear Atheria's story.
Yeah, you're the perfect guy to bring on for this, because you have, how many books you have, Preston, have you written now?
Oh gosh, you're gonna make me say 28. Yeah.
28 books. And are you the gentleman that says if you just write 15 minutes a day, you'll eventually get a book? Was this your quote?
No, but I like that quote.
Yeah. I think it's because I know Atheria's got a book in her as well. I think a lot of us do. We all have like these stories that we need to get out into the world. So if we just know that we write 15 minutes a day, just 15 minutes, eventually you're going to have a book. And that way it takes some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mr. Preston, also, again, just hop in when you've got questions and let us know, because you're going to have unique perspectives, which is why we're excited to have you on the show. So let's get to know a little bit more about Atheria before we go into this conversation. Atheria was born and raised in Rochester, New York, but also lived in Los Angeles, California, while she pursued the Hollywood dream. She's lived in Portland, Oregon, and Denver and New Mexico. She lived in New Mexico 3 times. She seems to be one of those people who has been called to the Land of Enchantment. As a kid, she was fascinated with all things paranormal and would hold seances in the basement. That's adorable and a little scary. She never considered herself to be psychic, but would have dreams come true occasionally. Then in the summer of 1996, some healing sessions with Dr. Eric Pearl, triggered out-of-body experiences and other powerful things to happen. She suddenly became very psychic, then mediumistic, and then started to channel. Started channeling extraterrestrials and other beings in 2000. She's also an alien abductee on numerous occasions. So give us a thumbs up if you're curious to hear about one of the things we want to talk about is the ET Lab under LA. So give us a thumbs up on that if you're excited to hear about that, or if you're excited to see Preston on the show. I have thumbs up for that myself. So, all right, Miss Atheria, I wanted you, because you did give us, and I don't want to rehash what you did on Jeff Mara, because, check out Jeff Mara. I love his shows. He's amazing. He's got great shows. She's got really good stories there. And so I kind of want to condense some of them since they already are out there and get into more of the details. So I wanted to know if you would just, let's talk about you seeing Dr. Eric Pearl, and he's somebody that was activated into what I would call quantum healing, where he's doing healing. He was a chiropractor, but now he's like a big to-do guy out there doing other stuff, but it's really basically quantum healing, where he's connecting people into their more total, complete self. Would you agree with that, Atheria, or how would you explain it?
Definitely. I mean, and I've experienced a lot of different types of healing modalities. I was trained in Reiki and therapeutic touch and some other things. I don't ever want to say one is better than another. And I do think that different techniques resonate with different people. But Eric blew me away. I had never experienced before him or after him what would happen when he would wave his hands over me on his table. In fact, he may even say this, I don't know, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think when he does healing work on people, and he mostly teaches now, I don't think he does that many in-person sessions himself. He wants to get everybody doing this, but that he affects your DNA. That's what I believe. I was told that something about the energy that he helps bring through, like reconnects your DNA strands or something. I mean, I'm not an expert in that stuff, but I believe it does influence your genetics. Really.
And is that something that he said, or is that something that you picked up psychically that he's working with your DNA?
I think he said it. I think he believes that somehow what he does connects, like some of your unconnected DNA strands get rejoined or something.
And I'm with you. I would. I'm not a scientist either, nor do I play one on TV. But like that sounds true. That resonates as truth to me, because that seems to be the thing that people are waking up. In the process of waking up, their DNA gets activated and realigned in a way that wasn't before. It gets turned on and aligned again, from my caveman understanding. So go ahead.
Well, and there is another reason why I think that could be true, that's what's going on with people when he works on them, is that I think it was during my very first session with him, I was laying prone on the table, and one of the various things I had happen during the long session was I could feel myself spiraling inside my own body. And it didn't feel like in theory, chakras come out this way from us, but at least that's the way they're always drawn. But I felt myself spiraling like this, lengthwise within my body. And my suspicion is, I can't prove this, but my suspicion is that spiraling was doing something with my DNA. It's just a feeling, but kind of makes sense for the changes that I had and stuff.
Awesome. And so I wanted to, and also just real quick, I want to talk about Moldavite, just because Moldavite was like the stone that opened it up for him in terms of him coming into this awareness. Do you have any experiences yourself with Moldavite?
Well, he's the one who prompted me to buy some. And now it's gotten to, this was back in the 90s and it wasn't super cheap then, but now the price has like really gone up. I remember the first time I held some in my hand, I think Eric maybe put some in my hand or something. And I could feel my palm buzzing. Yeah, it definitely affects me. Some people don't feel a whole lot from Moldavite, but I do think that people who already have had ET contacts and stuff tend to feel a lot from it. Okay.
Preston, have you heard about Moldavite? Is there anything that you know about Moldavite, Mr. Researcher Man? Oh, you're on mute, hun.
I bought some myself because I heard about it. I was curious and did some research in it. There is a UFO connection. There's a number of stories where people have bought it and had UFO sightings. It's very rare. It's found only in one place on Earth.
Moldavite's where's Moldavite found at?
Oh gosh, Moldavi Gorge or something like that.
Oh, there you go. Right.
Slovakia or somewhere.
It's in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fakes out there. So make sure you get it from a real reputable place.
Good call. Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm sorry, go ahead, Preston.
Apparently there is a UFO connection. There's quite a few stories out there about it. So I have my own piece. I wasn't going to be left out. I've had it, back in there since the 1990s. Got a couple tiny little pieces. But I'm curious about it. I love stones and crystals. This is something that does turn up in a lot of ET stories. Contactees are all about crystals. So,
and with Moldavite, just a dabble. Go ahead, talk Atheria. Show us your crystal.
Oh, no. I have nothing to say. I just wanted to show my crystal.
So Atheria, I want to kind of skip ahead to your genesis point with the sessions with Dr. Eric, to the final session where you got kind of reconnected with the stars. I'll just say reconnected with the stars, and you tell us what that was like, because that's the big moment where you're like, oh my God, I'm not from here.
Okay, do you want me to cry again?
Yes, if you could cry on command like a good actress, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Well, because it was during I don't remember if it was the last session, but it was towards the last, and it might have been the last. But at one point during the session, I felt myself leaving my body. I went through kind of a tunnel type thing. And all of a sudden I was plopped out into the middle of the universe. And there were beings behind me. For whatever reason, I'm a curious person, but for whatever reason, I didn't, turn and look. But there were some beings behind me. We were talking telepathically from what I remember. And they said, we know you don't like being where you are, which is true. But you have work to be doing, and we want you to know that from now on, we will be with you. And when you are done, we will bring you back home. And then they showed me like I'm going to say a star cluster, million, billion light years ahead. And I'm going to cry. It still affects me. The feeling of homesickness that hit my soul is indescribable. I cannot put it in words. I'm somebody who left home at age 18, moved from New York to California, never looked back. I've never really felt particularly at home anywhere I've lived. I feel like I'm just visiting. But when I saw this place, I was just hysterical, and with horrible homesickness. And Eric was, he's going, what's going on? What's going on? Because I'm just laying on the table sobbing, and I couldn't even get out words. I couldn't talk to Eric. I couldn't speak. So it wasn't until after the session ended and I calmed down that I told him what I saw. But it was, that was powerful.
My heart goes out to you, because I get that. I really do. I wanted to know if you have a sense of the beings who are talking to you, and a sense of, an affiliation of what the star cluster was, because you said a billion years in the future. Was it like you felt like this was a future home and you came into the past, or what's your sense and association to that star cluster?
I just said it was, I just used a term. I like billion light years away. I mean, it was away. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't a time frame. It was just a distance. I don't know which of the ET races it was. They were. I suspect Pleiadian. That's just my feeling. Initially it was Pleiadians were one of the first groups to come through to me. It then morphed into many other groups also coming, but they were kind of the first to say, hey, we want to talk to you. So it may have been them, but I don't know. I don't know.
Do you have a sense when you connect into that? I'm just curious, and there's no right or wrong answer, because we're just sharing your experience. And I'm just wondering, when you connect into that, how does it, you're homesick for that place. What is it about that causes the homesick? What are you homesick for? Like, what comes up for you? Is it the culture? Is it the sense of belonging? Like, what is it that shows up for you in that feeling of homesickness?
Gosh. That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm just not sure I even know. It's funny because it's, there's certain places that I visited and lived here on Earth that I just resonate with more than others. New Mexico is a powerful spiritual place for me. There is a resonance with New Mexico, but it was just a soul thing. I mean, it was just my real home.
Okay.
And I can't, there's from what I felt that day, there's nowhere here on this planet that I will ever feel that way. I can really like a place, and I can feel like, I belong in a certain place at that time, but it wasn't like, I missed, it wasn't specific where I said I miss the people or what it looked like or any of that kind of thing. To be honest, I just have a feeling it's much more peaceful there. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress here. This is just my feeling, but but I don't know. I wish I could give you more details on that. I really can't.
That's okay. I think that's valid. I just think it's nice for other people to hear that resonance, because there are many of us that have that. We're like, where am I homesick for? I'm homesick for someplace, but we never really find home because it's not on the planet. I wanted to talk to you about your UFO and Contactee experiences, because I know that you've had several, and I wanted to know if those were happening before or after the experience with Dr. Eric and the awakening.
After. It's all his fault.
It's his fault.
All their fault.
Yeah, this is something I am curious about. Like, have you had childhood experiences? This is something I often see with contactees.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I like to blame Eric, but but I suspect I probably have had stuff going on my entire life. It was that I became aware of it in 1998. Suddenly in 98, I was having a lot of stuff happen. But like my psychic ability and things like that, I was born with. And so I just have my suspicions, I might have been taken in, I grew up in Rochester, New York, so I might have been taken there, but I don't know. But it really did take off, so to speak, after Eric. And I mean, Eric is the one who, when, because I would have such dramatic things happen on his table. I was one of his, really powerful cases, that he's the one who he may have handed me the book, or he told me to go buy the book, Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. And he's like, you need to read this book because I think you need to read that. He's gonna, he just knew that that I was probably very connected to them. So, and for those who don't know, Bringers of the Dawn is about Pleiadians.
Yeah, I think that was like a groundbreaking book for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I remember in the 90s getting that book as well, and it just sort of turned things on in my mind where I started to understand this bigger picture, even though I had still so much more to go, but it kind of set the table for the adventures to come in terms of understanding the bigger playing field that we're in.
Yep.
Did you have any questions, Michelle? Preston, you look like my friend Michelle. No, Preston, do you have any other questions, or Linda, do you want to hop in before I go to the next section?
Well, no, I'm curious to see how this all unfolds and really get into it. Because I have noticed that people do have, in terms of contactees, an sort of major inciting event, which introduces them to all of this. And it often is in adulthood, and they've lived all their lives kind of circling around it and zeroing in, and then boom, it happens.
And then the Band-Aid is ripped off someplace and you're like, wow, it's really real.
Yes.
Well, I remember I lived in Los Angeles for, a lot of years. And before I became aware of things were about to get super strange, I remember one day I was walking in, I think, an older part of Hollywood. And, and I loved living there at the time and everything, but I suddenly was watching cars and people and stuff. And I just had this thought, you're not them. You're not them. It was like I was watching strange other beings. It was a very weird, disconcerting feeling of, I'm not one of these people. It's like, but it's like, so yeah, I'm just, technically everybody's just a visitor.
Right.
I mean, these are all, this is all temporary clothing here, so, but.
Earth is a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.
So true. Well, Atheria, so we are just visiting, and even though it seems like we're living here, it really is it's a drop in the bucket in terms of who we are in a much bigger sense. Atheria, I wanted to know, so you had other beings that started to show up for you, and I know that there's a big channeling session where the Pleiadians did pop in, but I wanted to kind of give you, my request is for you kind of, if you can walk through things in a linear fashion and also people, because it's easy to hop around, but I want to give people a sense of like a little bit of your journey. And then we definitely want to like curtail into the experience of you being taken underground LA to underground LA. Okay. So, well, go ahead.
Being taken to a lab underneath downtown Los Angeles was actually towards the beginning of all this. That was not the beginning.
Wow, that's huge.
So I'd gotten a severe injury in '95, and in my quest to get out of pain, Spirit led me to Eric. A series of synchronicities had Eric kind of plop in my lap. So, I was supposed to meet him. And then, so in 96, Eric did a series of sessions with me, which were life-changing. It's one thing to be told this is the way things are, but then you experience it or see it, and you go, I know what I saw. I can't. So that was in 96, and included in the life-changing things that happened while Eric would work on me is, I just jokingly say he blew open my chakras or something. And after my first, he worked on me 3 times in a row. After the 3rd session, is when I went home and then went to bed thinking I was the same person, and had a massive out-of-body experience and re-entered my body with so much force. I was kind of jolted back in that it threw me half out of my bed. And I didn't understand what I'm like going, because it kind of hurt. So I'm kind of like, ow. And it was a very aggressive slam. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking around my room going, what was that? But I suddenly started feeling, and up till this point, I had not had this happen. I started to feel that I was being watched. That feeling of being in a theater and someone's staring at the back of your head and you could feel it. You just know someone's watching you. So I felt like I was being watched and that there were people in the room, and it was giving me the heebie-jeebies. So I took my blankets. I'm under the bed like this. Somehow I fell back to sleep. But that next morning, I suddenly started having visions, which I had never had before. I started hearing voices. I started just knowing things that I didn't know how I should know. And then as the years went on, that would develop more and more. I go through growth phases, and then I'll plateau for a while where not much is going on. And then growth phase and then stuff. So that started in 96. And then it was in 98. For some reason, I don't remember the year of 97. I don't remember a lot of 97. I can remember 96 and 98. That's weird. Mm-hmm. But in 1998, I had a series of things start happening. So that was when, still in Los Angeles at the time, Taos, New Mexico started calling me very strongly, and I didn't even know what a Taos, New Mexico was. That was so bizarre. People still don't believe me how these signs I kept getting that I had to go.
That seems almost universal with Taos. People are drawn to, they're like, I don't know why I gave up my career and moved to Taos. Like, it seems to be Taos just pulled some people, and you were one of those people.
Oh, there's so many really cool Taos stories. In fact, whenever I was up there last weekend, and whenever I meet somebody who has moved to Taos, I always like to say, what brought you here? Serious. Do you have a story? Because most of them, sometimes the stories are a little mundane. Like, the nice guy that I was talking to last weekend, he came for love. His woman that he fell in love with lived there.
Boring old love.
But people, Taos is one of those places where people's cars will break down when they're just passing through, and they have to stay for a few days, and then they can't leave. They're like, I can't leave this place. One of the I love this story. There was the Scandinavian guy who was working at the Abominable Snow Mansion Youth Hostel in Arroyo Seco. I love it. Oh yeah,
I love it. That's great.
They've shortened the name now down to the Snow Mansion because it's just too long to say all that.
Snow Mansion.
But it's awesome. It's a fabulous hostel. I love it. But so he was a Scandinavian guy working there. And I said to him when I was staying there, I go, how did you end up in Taos? You're from, wherever he was from. And he's like, I was going through some changes, a year or so ago. And I just wanted to go somewhere. He's like, so I put a map of the world on the wall, and he closed his eyes, took a dart and threw it. And it
Whoa.
landed on Taos. It landed on Taos, and he picked up and moved to Taos, not knowing why, other than the fact he had to go. So there's a lot of those kind of stories, but I don't want to get too off track. But Taos could be a whole show unto itself.
Right.
But so in 1998, Taos started calling, and then and that's when I had my first remembered abduction. I was living in the Hollywood Hills at the time. And I think I just, well, now the interesting, actually, you know what? I forgot about this. The interesting thing was I had gotten fascinated with astral travel back then. So I had been reading a lot of books about how to make yourself leave your body and do all these things. And I was doing all these exercises to try to trigger it to happen at night and stuff. And it wouldn't, I couldn't get it to happen. So I'm not known for my patience, and I got frustrated and I threw the books down. I go, I give up. I can't do it, And of course, the moment I let go, guess what happened? That was, so I had not, so what happened is though, when I stopped trying so hard to leave my body, one night, a couple days later, I just went to bed, and all of a sudden I felt myself sinking through the bottom of the bed towards the floor. It was a really strange sensation. But what happened is my logical mind said, you're dying. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, if you're going to leave your body and it's a good thing, you should feel like you're going up. Yeah, that's so my logical mind's thinking you should be going up. But I felt like I was sinking.
No!
I know. Yeah. So I felt, oh my God, I'm dying. And I felt fear. And the moment I felt fear, boom, it yanked me back. It yanked me back in and snapped me out of it. And then I realized, what had been going on. And I got so mad I was so mad at myself. I ruined it. Fear, darn that fear. And so I've been dabbling in a little bit of that stuff in 98 in the hills. And then, but one night, I just went to bed, and I don't remember being taken. The next thing I knew, I was in a ship. So I was in a UFO, somewhere overhead. And I was pure logic. All of my emotions were totally shut off, which is really not me. I'm a very emotional person. But I was all left brain when I was with these beings. And I remember kind of being in myself, yet a little bit outside myself, observing that it was weird that I had no emotion. So that was a weird in and out dynamic. But the beings that took me were, I would say they treated me very much as an equal. Yeah, they were benevolent, and they really treated me with a form of respect and like I was a comrade or something, someone that they did business with, kind of a thing. And they took me to this laboratory. I'll call it a laboratory. It was underneath downtown Los Angeles, which I thought was really strange. I go, huh? Here? In my mind, I'm picturing out in the middle of the desert somewhere, not underneath a major city's downtown. But I remember there were very large test tubes, I'll call them, full of fluid. There were babies being grown in them. I interestingly enough, God, I can kind of see it again. Hold on a second, I can kind of see it. They did have like umbilical cords, kind of, still attached to something in the fluid and stuff. But they were very proud. I got this sense that they were very proud of the work they were doing, and that they wanted to show me, these projects. Mm-hmm. And, the weird thing is, and I don't know why this never dawned on me, but, and I might have mentioned this in Jeff's interview, but it never dawned on me that were some of them mine? You know, and they may have been. A friend a couple of years ago, she's like, do you think any were yours? And I go, I don't know. I never thought of it. Maybe.
Did these look like normal human babies, or were they different in any way?
On this, I would say mostly human.
Oh.
I mean, because I definitely recognize them as, you know, fetuses and stuff. I mean, they looked really, from what I used to seeing, you know, maybe, you know, 5-6 month old babies growing look like.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as this being under LA, I mean, how did you get that impression? Or was that an impression, or did you see it? Or
no, I just knew it. It was weird. I just somehow knew where we were, or maybe they told me. They probably told me, but I don't know. And I was at a party a few years later, actually, because I thought it was really strange and I kind of dismissed it. But I was at a party in the LA area a couple of years later, and I got talking to somebody who was into this kind of thing. And I go, I don't know. They brought me to this, you know, this place underneath downtown LA, but I can't believe that because, you know, I was dismissing it. And the person just very calmly said, oh yeah, there's a lab down there. I know about it. And then they said, which made sense actually, they go, what better place to put something like that than underneath a loud, distracting city where people aren't going to look down. They're all, you know, people are all dealing with, you know, the Hollywood thing and the glitz and the glam and, you know, going for restaurants and stuff, and they're not going to look down. So they said it's actually more hidden because it's down underneath a major city, which makes sense.
Well, and there's something to say about hiding in plain sight. Like that's a great place to hide. Miss Linda, hop in, cross-examine our witness, Linda. What do you have to ask her?
I know, I have more questions. Linda, who always has more questions. No, when you were there, and I apologize if you covered this because I'm also doing the chat, so I want to go back and forth. But when you were there, we've had more questions about what your actual reactions were when you were there. To talk about that more, what was going through your mind, your psyche, your physical being, like all of that. My question is, what was your sense of the purpose of it being there? What were they doing? What was their purpose? Did they share any of that with you?
God, I wish I could remember. Time flies when I'm getting older. I mean, I do believe they were hybrids. I do believe they were a mix of human and them. But what they were trying to accomplish with the hybrids, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
Do you have a sense of were these like grays, or do you have a sense of them being others? And because grays, again, that's like a really wide term, right? There's many different grays. So, but do you have a sense of who the ET's affiliation or how they designated themselves in the stratosphere of ETs that are of many?
I wish I could remember what they looked like better.
What's your you're very empathic.
Yeah.
So what's your empathic
feeling,
sense?
Yeah. My feeling, I mean, to be honest, I don't think they were Pleiadian or any of like the tall Nordic types, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like they were more classic grays, actually.
Okay. And I think that's fair, because here's what's interesting. Right, the large head, the wraparound-ish eyes, almond-shaped. And I think that's fair. And this is a little place to open some discussion, because I know the theory that you've had, Arcturians are also now like really showing up, or they have shown up really strongly for you. And it seems as though, because my sense of this is, or my understanding of this is that we are all fractals of the oneness, right? And so there's bigger fractals going into smaller fractals. And here in this dimension, time, space, place, we're some of the smaller fractals. And that's why you'll hear someone say, well, like only 20% of you is here, 80% of you is elsewhere, but this is like 20% of where your consciousness is manifested. And my sense is it's like, well, there's Arcturians, there's Pleiadians, there's Syrians, we have different grays that are showing up. We've got, like the Ponti that are the lovely Ponti that are around the planet. There's some other Zetas that are more service, I don't want to say service to self, but service to their mission. And it's a bit less, they're not so touchy-feely about like all the stuff that's going on. They're not that connected to it. But it feels like there's an amalgamation of these beings coming together and working together. And it's interesting for you to have these different connections and then for grays to show up and plop in and say, here's an experience with us as well. You're also part of this. And aren't you proud to be a part of this? We're so proud to show you. I wanted to ask Preston to hop in and say, in terms of your research, Preston, what's your feedback on what I just said and Atheria's experience of having contacts with multiple ET nations, star nations?
Yeah, that often does happen. People may have one major sort of species they work with, the grays, but all these ETs are working together. They're all very telepathic. They know what each other is doing, and it's not at all unusual for a person to have contact with multiple species. In fact, I would call that more the rule than the exception.
Fantastic, which is nice because I want people to understand that. I want people to feel like it's okay to have, as long as you're working in light and love and their service to others, not service to self, I would say go for it in terms of those connections. And so Atheria, yes, hop in, hun.
I was just going to add, and I really don't have much memory of this, and I think they did that on purpose. About a week or two after the, friendly abduction, I'll say, because they didn't hurt me. They were just showing me stuff. I was taken by another group that was hostile. So I've been very lucky in that the vast majority of my contacts with other beings has not been negative, but this group a week or two later was not benevolent. And I remember is I actually did see lights and stuff like that coming in my windows. And I knew at a deep level, this was bad news. This time it was bad news. And I was petrified. I've never been that scared in my life. And I remember I'm just begging God to not let them know I'm in there. I'm like, don't let them find me. I'm just, I'm on the floor, I think. I think I was on the floor, like face down on the floor. Just don't let them not know I'm here. Because my soul was like, oh, this is not good, And then I blacked out. And I didn't wake up till the next morning and stuff. So I have and I don't know how I know this, but I know it really strongly, that group wanted to know what the other group showed me. They were spying. Yeah, they were a little more hostile group, and they want to know, what are they up to? Let's get her, and she can tell us what they're up to, kind of a thing. That's what I feel it was about. It was really scary.
Yeah, that sounds horrifying. Hop in, Preston, because I want to ask you if that was Preston. Do you think that's my lab, or do you think that's another actual ET group, or the U.S. military impersonating ETs? What's your?
Oh.
Yeah, that was actually my thought.
I never thought of that.
Because people do have negative experiences
after positive ones.
But they're mostly positive. I think people will have a strong fear reaction sometimes, but there is absolutely, I think, an effort on the part of our own secret government, I'll call it, to put a negative spin on this, and they will visit people and masquerade as ETs and give them a negative encounter. So I'm wondering about that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that never even dawned on me.
There are a number of contactees who've had this experience where they'll have a contactee event and then it's followed up by a government visitation, which is not pleasant. So that's definitely a possibility to consider.
Wow. That's like, thank you for mentioning that. It's never dawned on me, and that would make sense from what little bit I know about, what we're into on our government side. I'm sorry, was Linda going to say something?
Yeah, I just have a thought on that too. I mean, there's a part, what I was hearing is like, just like us humans that have people who are horribly corrupt, that can happen on the other side, and collusion can happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so that corruption, like even in a species that is benevolent, loving, the whole mission is there, you're going to have those outliers and attract, and the government, I'm sure, would love to have those outliers work with them.
Yeah, I was going to say real quick, there are people who are service to self here on the planet. There are people that are ETs who are service to self, like attracts like, right?
Right.
And so there's your collusion that gave me chills. Because I think you would say also, Preston, would you say that there are also negative ET beings that will abduct people after a positive experience, because those negative ETs also want information? It can be both and. Would you say that's true, Preston, or what have you found? I don't want to speak for you.
I haven't run across cases like that.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest, ETs, as near as I can tell, as I mentioned earlier, are very telepathic. They know what each other is doing. I'm not going to say that all ETs out there are space brothers, because it is a wide universe. But what I've found is their behavior, falls under the same umbrella as human behavior, except it's skewed way towards the positive.
Yeah.
It's humans that I'm mostly worried about.
Absolutely.
To be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I do think there's a huge agenda to put, if you look at our culture, our movies, our everything, when was the last time we had a positive ET movie? ET, there's most of my phone. Hang on.
Yeah, it's not as common.
It's not as common. Our whole culture and our movies is that they're scary. And when you look at the financial backing of a lot of those movies, it starts getting really questionable. So I think there's a definite agenda to make them the scary ones.
Right. For people to have a fear trigger around anything ET.
Right. I've never had anything other than when I was a child and having shadow people. I've never had a negative experience.
One thing I'm curious about, Atheria, is have you actually seen a UFO?
I have a photo of one. So yes. The funny thing is, I didn't see it. It was cloaked. So, and I can't remember if I mentioned this on the other interview or not, but it's a quick story. This is when I lived in New Mexico the first time, because I've been here 3 times now. I was living in Albuquerque, and it was December 2005. Yeah, December 2005. And I'd gotten this new Nikon camera. So I wanted to go play with it. It had all these fancy settings and stuff. So I go outside. It was a really clear, very crisp December day in Albuquerque. And I'm facing towards the Sandia Mountains, which supposedly have
the Ponte. That's where the Ponte, some of the Ponte. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, the Manzanos have the Arcturian mothership over them.
But, oh my God.
Oh, you haven't heard that?
I heard. No.
Oh, yeah.
You're holding back. You need to hear that. Go ahead.
Sorry. Anyway, I went outside, beautiful clear day. My eyes didn't see anything other than blue sky and mountains. So I took a series of photos with this Nikon, and I would take a picture, change the setting, take a picture, change. So I took a series of the same shot in rapid, succession. I wanted to see what the different settings did. So I get back to my apartment and I'm uploading the pictures onto my laptop, and I'm looking at, nice picture. Whoa, what was that? And I'm like, and so there's only one frame that caught it. And if there was just something floating through, I would have caught it in all of them, or at least some other ones. But the one frame in the middle, it was it was silver, kind of teardrop shaped. It was kind of a unique shape, actually. Kind of teardropped, but it looked so like a teardrop, but a little bit of angles on the sides, not totally round, I think, from what I could see. I mean, we had my friend enlarged the picture as best she could, but it wasn't a high resolution camera back then. So it's not great. You know, it was 2005 or the cameras weren't as good, and it looked like when she enlarged it, you could kind of see that it was affecting the air around it. Almost like you see heat come off of hot pavement, those wavy things. You could see that it was affecting air around it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that one I accidentally took a picture of, although there are no accidents. And then, a really cool UFO that I saw with a friend years ago in Joshua Tree, California. We'd gone out this is kind of funny. We had gone out to look for Native American spirits at night because supposedly you can easily contact them there. So you go looking for spirits and instead you see a UFO. So we were sitting out there. It was midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. It was pitch black. I mean, it was scary dark. You couldn't see it. I mean, no city lights, nothing. It was really, you couldn't see it. But so I'm sitting with my friend and we're just really clear night. So we were just watching the stars and stuff. And there was a decent amount of planes. So at first we both saw this thing that we thought was a plane. It was going, it kind of flew initially like the real planes. But then all of a sudden, so it's doing, it's flying. It did boom, like that fast. A series of really sharp turns and then straight up and was gone. And at the same time, we go, "Did you see that?" It's like, yes. He's like, "Oh my god." So there was that one because I don't think planes can do that.
Not easily.
Yeah, and then,
not before they crash. They're going to crash.
Yeah, and then and then in Albuquerque, when I was living in Albuquerque the second time, a few years ago, I was living way on the west side of the city, and I was taking a walk one evening. And this may or may not have been something, but I think it was not a normal experience. I was just taking a walk. It was later than normal, so it was getting pretty dark. And on the city, the side that I was on, I faced the main part of Albuquerque with these Sandia Mountains in the background. And I thought I saw a shooting star at first, because I suddenly just saw this bright light kind of arcing down like a shooting star would be towards the city of Albuquerque. But then it came down low and went straight up. And I don't think a shooting star can do that. I don't know. Maybe they can, but I don't think they can do that.
No.
I don't think they have a reverse drive.
Yeah, I don't think, it was like, it's just like, what the? Yeah. So those,
I want to ask Preston real quick. Have you this tear shape thing? I'm really curious about this. You can go back there for a moment. Have you heard reports, Preston, of tear shaped UFOs like that? And any of your, go ahead.
Yeah, UFOs do come in all shapes and sizes. I would say the saucer shape is by far the most common, but spherical, boomerang shaped, triangles I am wary of.
Yeah, that's American. That's US, as far as I know.
And as far as, the whole Sandia area, that is very heavily governmental. I mean, that's where they do have a lot of secret government stuff going on. So that always raises a question in my mind when people see stuff in that area.
Actually, this is not an Albuquerque thing, but I was a member of a Albuquerque group, a metaphysical group at the time, and this one really nice military guy, because Kirtland Air Force Base is right there. This military guy was, curious about these kind of things. So he came to one of the meetings one day. He was a really nice young guy. And then we never saw him again for like the main members of the group never, he never came back, and he seemed like he was really interested. So, we thought he would come back, but anyway, so he didn't come back for a long time. Months later, the guy who was running the group ran into him somewhere and said, "What happened? Why did you come back or whatever?" And he said this young guy was different and very affected. And he very hesitatingly, he told the group leader, he's like, "Well, I got sent from the Air Force Base up to Dulce." And we all know about Dulce. Infamous, cow mutilation area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dulce is the cow. There's stuff. That's where that famous firefight with ETs went on years ago and stuff.
Oh, I see. I didn't know this, but I didn't know it, but Preston probably knows it.
Yeah, he probably knows. Yeah. So that happened. So anyway, so this young guy had gotten sent to do some mission in, some exercises in Dulce, and he wouldn't even. And to be honest, this might have been a clearance issue, so he probably had to be careful what he said to this guy. But he's like, "All I can tell you is I was sent to Dulce, and what I witnessed," he's like, I'm horrified." He was scared. He was horrified. He was in shock. He was like, and shaking, even getting those words out to this guy. So, I have my theories about what he was probably made to go do. But yeah, he's like, and so he never came back to the meetings. But the group leader said that he was gaunt. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. He was fried from what he'd gone through. So, yeah.
All right. There's so much going on out there.
Yeah.
It is wild. Well, I want to bring it back to your stories, Atheria, because it is one of those things where you have had encounters with other ETs, and if you can kind of maybe speak to that. You also had some like reptilian beings that you did encounter. They seemed reptilian to you, that they were scampering on the floor on all fours. What was that story about? Just so we have a reference for that.
That was more recent. So
that was recent. Okay.
Yeah, that was I don't know what to, and I've gone online trying to look up what these beings could have been, because they look so unique. They weren't totally reptilian, but they didn't look like grays, and they definitely weren't Pleiadian, or I don't know what they were. But they kind of scampered on all fours.
Mm-hmm.
They really, in a weird way, they kind of scampered.
So take us from the top. What was the experience? How did you encounter them?
I went to bed. I think. Wait, where did this happen? Albuquerque or here? I think this happened when I was in Albuquerque. I'm forgetting. Maybe Powake. I'm sorry. I'm blanking on where it happened, but it was either it was in New Mexico. So it was either Albuquerque or up in Powake. I simply went to bed one night and thinking it was gonna be a normal night. And then I woke up outside. I'm outdoors on my back on the ground. And this one being, I remember there was two, let me think. I remember seeing two of them. There was at least two of them, maybe three. But one scampers up to me and comes up right to my right hand side as I'm laying there.
Are you paralyzed?
I think so. Because I don't remember. I have a feeling that I was consciously awake, that I couldn't physically move. That makes sense, because I was just kind of like this.
Right. Because otherwise, why would you let an alien scamper up to you and be like, "Oh, hi"? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like anyone's normal reaction.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you. So he all I remember is I'm laying the thing. One scampers up right next to me, and is like starts petting my arm, and it was like very comforting.
Oh.
Like it was trying to tell me, you're gonna be okay. yeah, we know you're afraid, but they didn't say this, but I could feel like they're saying, I know you're scared, but you're going to be okay. You know, we're not here to hurt you. And he was very carefully petting my arm like I was an animal. It was very funny. Funny in retrospect.
Right.
And then, now was that the one where I had the thing put on my head?
What did they look like?
I mean, that's what I mean. It's so hard. They were kind of reptilian, but not totally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I think the problem is, I think I have in my mind what things should look like. So I think, well, that doesn't look like that kind of. So but I will say definitely reptilian-ish, if not reptilian. But I don't know if reptilians scamper on all fours. I mean, do they do that? I don't know. I mean, Preston, do they do that?
I cannot say that I've heard that, but what we do hear often is absolutely unique entities that people have not described before or since, at least in my experience. So I'm not going to rule anything out. You know, a person's experience is a person's experience.
Yeah, I mean, they were thin. I mean, you know, very just spindly, spider. Oh wow, kind of spider-like.
Okay.
Now I'm getting like a little hit, kind of spider-like. It was weird. But the problem is a lot of my experiences at this point now, they're just all meshing together, and it's really hard to delineate which ones were which. But it might have been during that one. Because this just happened more recent. Now I know this one happened when I was in Powake. I might have gone from being outside where they're petting my arms to all of a sudden I'm like inside a ship. I'm on a table, and they were putting a metal helmet kind of thing on my head. But I'll call it a helmet because I don't know what to call it. But it was so there was a metal ring that went around, and then there were metal other sections that came down, but there were some gaps in it. It wasn't solid. And I remember there was then another round ring on top, and they were drilling down into my head.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they were giving you highlights for a moment, but that sounds awful.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing something down through the very top of my head into my head.
Oh my God.
And I don't remember it hurting though.
Okay.
So I think it was more of an energetic drilling, not, you know, yeah. I did not wake up with a big hole down my head.
Right.
But so I don't think it hurt. I don't remember there being pain. But interestingly, so there was the helmet. I remember that part. Then I think it was like, I don't remember a lot more than I woke up the next day, I think. But interestingly though, for about 2 weeks after that one, my psychic sense was way, way bigger. I was having nonstop psychic flashes and stuff like that happening for about 2 weeks afterwards. So they may have been doing something with my pineal gland. That's my guess.
Well, that is one of the main ET agendas, is to wake people up psychically.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time.
And then one of the now this was one of the longer ago episodes. I remember being on a table in one of their ships, and I think I was nude, and I remember being cold, and I'm thinking to myself, can't they put a blanket on me or something? I had like these thoughts that came into my head. Can't they put a blanket on me? But during that one, and I don't know if this was, I think there was more to it than one of them just having a sense of humor, but I could be wrong. One of them was tickling me. So I'm like laying on a table, and they're like tickling me. But I kind of think it was like they were trying to see how the human body responded to things or something. They were, I don't think it was just to be funny. I don't think it was just to be funny. But here I'm cold, I'm naked, and they're tickling me. I'm like, this is like really annoying. This is, do we have to do this now? But but I do. So that's it. You know, it is interesting that you said one of their agendas is to open us up psychically, because for about 2 weeks, I was really open after that head drilling thing.
I like the idea of that being a pineal gland clearing, like, you know, like decalcifying it for you maybe, or you know, because it's a basically an organ that has crystals inside of it, you know, and it speaks to us being connected to each other through this crystalline structure that's already in our body, which brings us back to the pyramids and the crystalline structure in the pyramids. Anyway, I will try not to deviate. I feel like we could go down so many rabbit holes with you, because you've got so many varied experiences. Yeah. Did Linda or Preston want to ask anything else before we move to another area? Oh, Linda, you're muted, sweetheart.
Not so much a question, but just the reiteration that sometimes I think that because we can come from a place of fear, because it's something foreign to us, we may take the experience as very negative and you know, they're doing something horrible to us, when in fact what they're doing is opening us up. What they're doing is moving us to the next level. And I do think sometimes it's curiosity. They're learning from us, about us. But at the same time, there's a lot of times where I think it's this process of opening us as a species to being able to do more, see more, communicate in a different way.
Yeah. Well, and it was, I channeled for the first time in, so from like 96 up till 2000, increasing, woo-woo things were happening, including a life-changing experience at Ojo Caliente Spa during my Taos trip. And then, but in 2000, I was hypnotized and regressed, trying to clear out some past life trauma. And suddenly I was pushed out of my body for the first time while these two different groups of beings started talking. And they talked about my life that I had lived in Lemuria, which I had never heard of Lemuria at that point. I had to look it up. They talked about, they said, in 12 years, your true work will become important. And I didn't know anything about the Mayan calendar back in 2000. I had never heard of it. So I started channeling. So that was my first channeling experience in 2000. And then I got curious about channeling. So I heard, as fate would have it, I heard about this group that learned channeling, and they were having kind of a public display one night. And I went to go watch it, thinking I'm just going to be in the audience. And all of a sudden I interrupted the entire meeting. I felt bad because I had no control. I was just gone. And someone started talking through me and kind of took over the whole meeting and stuff. And then I came out of the trance, and a bunch of people said, do you know what you have? And I'm like, no, I don't understand what's going on. And they go, you have a natural gift at this, and you need to learn how to handle it a little better. So they suggested I take these classes, which I started taking in California, about learning how to properly channel and handle the energies and stuff like that. And so by 2002, it was towards the end of the channeling classes that I was taking. The teacher had us all, she wanted us to meet our spirit guides. So each week, one of the people in class and her would get on a Ouija board and try to communicate with that person's spirit guide so that they could officially meet their guide and, and use the guide as a good gatekeeper for their spiritual work to protect them and stuff like that. So I was the last person to go after week 10. And I get on the board with the teacher, and our hands are on the planchette, and, nothing's happening. And nothing's happening. It's not, no, because everybody else, the Ouija board responded pretty quickly. And by the way, I do want to say the teacher was very experienced in the Ouija board, and we did a protection before. We only invited beings of the light. I mean, we were very careful about what we did, because you really shouldn't just play with this stuff if you don't know what you're doing. So we did do protection and everything. And, but so it wasn't moving. And I think I said to the class, I'm like, oh, great. I'm the only one without a spirit guide. Like, I have no one. And all of a sudden it just started going, doing all this and frantically moving around. And so who came through was, she said, now she used the term Playaran, not Pleiadian. But I know, I found out later, Playaran is another name for Pleiadians, I believe. So she said she was Playaran, and that her name was Alora. And there seems to be a thing with A names in Pleiadians, I'm noticing, actually. She said that she says, we want to work with you, but you have to let us, you have to give us permission. If you want, you have to let us know you want to work with us. And I think I said, I'm hyperactive, so I think I said, yeah, But then I made the mistake. I got yelled at by an ET. I made the mistake of cracking a joke about being abducted, and she didn't like it, and she reprimanded me. And she's like, I can't remember her exact words. I actually do have them written down somewhere, but she said something like, we don't do that, and we abhor that aspect, and it's not funny. And if you think it's all just going to be a joke, then move along. Yeah, I mean, she made it very clear that her Playaran people don't take people against their wills, and that it's nothing to be made fun of and stuff like that. So she slapped me down. She's like, you need to take this seriously, and if you're not going to take it seriously, then forget it. We'll find someone else. So I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Take me back.
But and I don't remember what else did she say. She didn't say a whole lot, but she did. She had said, I think, before I got into trouble, that they wanted to work with me, and if I was willing, they'd like that. So
now, are you working with them now? Do you feel like that you're doing anything in dream time with them, or what's your experience of that follow up?
Well, I channel them.
Okay.
I do channel them. So
do you channel them now? When you do channel them, do you channel them when you're writing? Do you go into a trance state? What's your experience of channeling them?
I go, it's varied. Sometimes I go into full trance. Sometimes I'm still a little bit there, but kind of gone. I'm like, it's a light, I'll say a lighter level. So, sometimes I'm just gone. And then other times I'm there a little. And then I do what I call, either relay mediumship or relay channeling, where I am fully conscious, but I'm hearing them and I'm just repeating what they're saying. I'm actually going to try and start doing more of that, because it's less stressful on me physically. Because when I'm in full trance, it's physically exhausting. It's very hard on me physically. It's gotten better. I mean, back in the early 2000s, when I would trance channel, it was so physically difficult on me and exhausting. I'd have to sleep for hours and stuff afterward, and my pain level would be higher because it was so stressful on my body. But as the years have gone on, I'm a little better at incorporating the energies, so it's not as dramatic. And then I do some written channeling too, where I'm just typing out, the words are coming and I'm just typing it out. So it's various.
Are you doing that for yourself, or are you doing that for clients? Who are you doing that for?
I mean, I have it on YouTube for free.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
I'm not making any money on it, but I have a lot of this. I have a blog, I have my blog, and I have videos on YouTube. So all that stuff's free. When I have done readings, I've actually stopped. I've been turning down readings lately, and I need to stop doing that. But when I read people, in general, if I'm reading somebody, I'm working as a medium. I'm not in trance. I'm not channeling. I'm reading them as a medium, not necessarily a contactee. That being said, there have been times in certain readings where I'm talking to the client or whatever, and all of a sudden something comes out of my mouth. It wasn't me. I'm like, what was that? So I'll if something does need to come through, they will still get it through.
Sneak it in there.
What did I just say?
Yeah.
But mostly I'm working as a medium, and I don't really channel. Although to a degree it is still channeling. I mean, mediumship and channeling is related.
Yeah.
Although with regular mediumship, you're mostly dealing with human beings who have crossed over, and that's who you're talking to, not ETs.
Yeah. But we're a lineage. Yeah, Miss Linda, hop in.
So I have a question. Have you seen a theme, or is there a message overall that you are getting from them that you would like to share with people about our time, what's happening right now?
Well, I've said I'm very cranky, and my friends all know this. Kat knows this from my Facebook posts. I'm just in a mood. So I jokingly say that I can always tell when I am purely getting someone else talking through me, because they're much more forgiving than I am. They're much less judgmental than I am. They're, they're more mature about things than I am sometimes and stuff. So, they're just, they're from a higher level. And so I will say, I'm trying to think of some common themes they've talked about. Well, I mean, they do, this is common knowledge, but they do talk a lot about the fact that the vibration is increasing, that during the increasing phases, things can be difficult, because it is a dramatic shift, and it's not going to necessarily be super easy, but the end result's going to be good. They talk about not judging other people, and that we all come from the same source. Actually, this was information they gave me a really long time ago, but I just love this one. This would have been in the late 90s, actually, when I first started doing some written stuff was coming to me. I'm hearing it and I'm just writing it. They said that we're going to get to a point where humans, we will eat color and breathe color, that our food will be color. That will keep us alive. I love that. I mean, you hear that phrase, eat the rainbow, in terms of eating a healthy diet. But they talked about that we will be kept alive through breathing in color. That's fascinating to me. I love that.
I know that there's a piece with that in terms of, because I have a hard time. I'm not saying it's not real. There are certain things where I'm like, that might be real, but I'm not on that boat yet. Like breatharians are supposed to be, just consuming the sunlight, because that's what we're doing by and large. When we're consuming animals, we are consuming the earth, but via an animal, or we're eating plants, which plants, obviously are consuming sunlight, right? And also earth nutrients and, ground rain and all the elements. But like the evolution is to be able to absorb through and directly from the sun together. And eat the rainbow sounds like taking acid to me, but that's another story. Preston,
I don't think they're saying do LSD.
You're saying drop some acid, you'll see colors, you'll hear colors, you'll eat colors. Preston, have you heard anybody else saying anything about along those lines about eating the rainbow, or becoming breatharians, breathing light
Breathing
into
in
your
color.
body? Oh, you're on mute, hon. Unmute yourself. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually looked into the whole breatharian phenomena. This has been scientifically verified. It's called inedia, and it's actually very well verified. Happened.
I didn't know it was verified. Cool.
I didn't either.
Oh yeah, in a scientific laboratory setting, they've had people, they've set them aside, they've watched them for months. They did not consume food, and they survived just fine. This is a real phenomena. I haven't been able to
God, think how much money we'd save on food.
I know, right? And
we'd all be thin.
Yeah, I think it hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but I started hearing cases. I haven't been able to connect this directly to the Contactee phenomena, but it doesn't surprise me a bit, because what I am seeing with contactees is they are reporting all these, in yogic tradition is called siddhis, superhuman powers, which aren't superhuman at all. But we do have the ability to levitate, to turn invisible, superhuman strength, immunity to fire, clairvoyance. I mean, there's a huge, huge list of things we can do. And surviving without food is absolutely one of them. So it doesn't surprise me to hear ETs talking about this in some way. But yeah, inedia, it's called. It's absolutely true. I did a big whole writing project on it. Got published in Fate magazine. And I was shocked. There are a lot of people who have had this experience. And yeah, scientifically verified.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly am familiar with breatharianism. But I thought there'd only been like 2 people who even claimed to have done it. I didn't realize it was more common, actually. I'm assuming these are all yogis and stuff like that who are very experienced meditators.
No, not all of them. So, some were like nuns and stuff, but it just sometimes happens to people. They just lose the desire to eat and they survive.
Wow. Hop in, Linda.
So, as you were talking about tasting the rainbow, what came to my mind is synesthesia, which is where, and they call it a disorder, but it's where people taste color when they taste food. So an apple may be green to them or purple to them, but when they taste different things, they're actually, in their brain, it's color.
Experiencing color.
What I gotta say is, and I thought I was just weird, but then I met other people that this happened to also. But I am weird. But years ago, when I was doing I've been vegan for a very long time, and I do think my veganism has to do with my ET connections, because I know there's a lot of vegan ET groups. But I was doing a raw food diet. And twice, I'd been raw fooding for quite a long time. And I remember the one case I was working in Westwood, and I had to go to a meeting in downtown Los Angeles right after work. And the traffic from Westwood to downtown LA is not easy. So I had to hurry. So I was still at work, and I gobbled a big salad. Cause I knew I wouldn't have time to eat. So I gobbled a salad, get in my car, I start trying to head to downtown LA, and all of a sudden, I start craving the color green. And I can't explain it other than that I was craving the color. I had to eat, and I had to eat green, and I have to do it right now. I know I just ate a huge salad, but that wasn't enough. I need green. And I'm like, just stop it. You don't have time, you gotta get there. And it was like, I degrade. I couldn't go on. So I veered off my original path I was going to take to get to downtown. I stopped in a health food store called Erewhon. I ran up to their salad bar. I took every bit of green stuff they had. And jumped back in the car, and I'm just shoveling it in my mouth. And I'm like, it was the weirdest thing. But I ran into some other people who had done some long-term raw fooding, and they had that thing happen where you physically crave the color green. And it's not anything else. Nothing else is going to satisfy it. It's got to be spinach or something green. But I wonder if that, because people who are raw foodists will say that it affects your vibration level. And I do kind of believe that. I feel like when I've eaten a higher raw diet, my psychic abilities are stronger. So, and others have said that, who've done raw food diets. So it's possible that, there was just something with my vibration that was being affected because of the diet, the really healthy diet, that I just suddenly needed this infusion of green. But other people said that has happened to them.
Well, I know that part of that narrative is that the less, because I love eating, I love food, and I'm not ready to be breatharian just as of yet, but like, just saying, but like part of it is to like be able to release the energy from digestion and let it go up into the rest of your chakras. So it's like all of your body's energy isn't just focused on digestion, that it actually has a chance to go up through the rest of your channel into your other chakras, so that your body's energy is actually connected to all of you and not just focused on the first three, processing and digestion. Do we have any other thoughts? Yeah, right? I want to talk about one other thing. We're at an hour and a half already, which is nuts. It feels like it's been 15 minutes. Were there any other questions before because I wanted to move to Atheria's story on Ojo Caliente, which I've never heard before. So I want to talk about that, but I want to make sure Linda and Preston put any other questions in there before we move forward.
Oh, I'm ready. Ojo Caliente.
Ojo Caliente. That just sounds spicy.
Well, I'll be as quick as possible. So in 1998, this 4-letter word kept calling me, and I didn't know what it was. And finally, my friend said, "I think it's a town in New Mexico." And it got so bad that I was walking down Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles one day, leaving the Bodhi tree, and something made me stop and look down at my feet. And it was almost like a hand pushed my head down and looked. And engraved in the concrete was the word Taos. It got that bad. And then finally I had an out-of-body experience where I flew to Taos. And by that point, I'm like, I don't know why I need to go there, but I need to go. So I had time. So in August of 98, I drove to Taos, had a really, overall, I had a powerful week the entire time I was there. I'd never felt something like that before in my life, where I resonated so much. But then one of the youth hospital people suggested I go to Ojo Caliente, which is a spa. It's a natural mineral spring spa, not too far from Taos. And I go, sounded interesting, but they didn't warn me. They didn't tell me anything about it other than that it's a really nice, mineral spa. So I drove there for the day, and when did this happen? I think it was towards the end of the day there, maybe. I was enjoying the place and stuff like that, and so tried their various tubs, and because they've got different mineral waters. So they have lithium water, they've got arsenic water, they've got salt. There's one that's like a sulfur water. They got all these healing waters that you can soak in. Whoa. So I paid for a private tub in the arsenic water. Now,
arsenic. Don't drink it, I guess. What?
I know. Does not sound like a good idea. I know.
No.
But the reason that I did it, because naturally I would go arsenic. That doesn't sound very good. But the arsenic water is supposed to be really good for bone damage. for bone pain issues, and I have neck damage, so I thought it would be a good idea. So I got in the private tub, but I don't listen to instructions all the time. So you were only supposed to be but it felt so good. I thought, I'm gonna read. So I go, and I can stay in for a couple extra minutes, and no big deal. And so I didn't stay in super long extra, but I was in there a little longer than you're supposed to, because I started to get sick. So I started to not feel good. I'm like, something's wrong. I feel like I'm gonna pass out or something. So I need to get out. So I got out of the tub, and so I'm by myself in the private room then. And once I got out of the tub, I really didn't feel good, and didn't know what was happening, but it was scary. So I wrapped myself in towels. I staggered, and I have to say staggered, out into the lobby and plopped down into a chair. And then things got worse. So I started feeling, I felt like I was going to pass out. My entire body went pinprickly numb from head to toe, like my entire body fell asleep. Now, the interesting thing with that is, back when I first started channeling a few years later after this, one of the sensations I would get during channeling is that my arms would often lock up to my chest like this, and my body would go pinprickly numb. So this was a foreboding that was coming, I think, because so I plopped down in the chair, my hands turned into claws, and they locked to my chest. My body went totally dead from head to toe numb. My pulse, I got very pale. And I really felt like I'm dying. This is not good. And I saw the looks on some of the staff's faces, and they were about to call 911. Actually, because it was bad. It was like, it looked like I was having a stroke. And so let's see, this is the numbness. And then, I know, I started slurring my speech, which, hello, scary. So when I noticed that I was slurring my speech, then even I felt, because at that point, I'm still thinking, am I having a really weird low blood sugar attack? But I just ate, so I shouldn't be. And I couldn't figure it out, but then I'm slurring my speech. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm having a stroke. And so they were about to call 911, and I kept wanting to go to sleep, but I knew, do not go to sleep. Not a good idea right now. You got to stay conscious. So I'm trying to talk, so I'm like this, and but I closed my eyes for a second and opened my eyes because I knew I didn't want to go to sleep. And all of a sudden, everything that I had been taught my entire woo-woo adult life about everything being connected, everything being energy, that we are all full of light and soul, I saw it. So if I could have seen my facial expression, it was probably this. Oh, because I'm like, I'm just in amaze going, oh my God. I'm thinking I don't think I was saying anything. I think I was just thinking, oh my God, because I could see that everything was connected. I could see that everything was full of light and full of God. I could see the air. I can't explain it, but I could see the air. And I'm not talking Los Angeles smog. I'm talking, I could see the air. And so the air was light. And the walls were light, and the chair, and you, and the floor, and everything. And so everything was full of light, and there was an energy of light connecting them all. Wow. And they all breathed together. There was this movement of breath with everything. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then, probably didn't last, that many seconds or whatever. And I think I kind of went like this again and went like that again. And my vision was back to normal. And then, and I think they may have actually called 911 by that point. But it was interesting because one of the other employees said that she had seen a couple of other people react to the mineral springs the way they had the same similar things happen. But as fate would have it, I just love this. This lady a customer came through and she took one look at me and she's like, oh, I know what to do. So she grabbed my left arm and she did some pressure. She knew pressure points and stuff like that, acupressure. So she pushed, I think, somewhere in this part of my arm. Mm-hmm. And immediately my left arm unlocked. So my left arm let go. And that triggered like all of me to let go. So that let go first. And then all of a sudden my right arm started to, come out of the locked up thing. And I started to feel warmer because my body, I felt very cold. My body was like ice cold. And the pinprickliness started to not be so bad. And I started to come out of it. And then somebody had some orange juice. So I drank some orange juice and stuff and things. But, when I realized, okay, I'm not going to die, I just sat there. And the words that kept coming, I didn't know any of the history of Ojo Caliente yet. But I kept saying to the people in the room that I go, I don't understand what just happened. I go, but I feel like I released something. And I go, I think something's gone that used to be there. It's weird, but I can't explain it. So I was able to get myself okay enough that I could drive back to Taos where I was staying. I probably shouldn't have been driving, but I did. And when I got back to the youth hostel, there was this really cool guy who was staying there that week. He was half Apache and half Eastern Indian, and very spiritual. And he said to me, he's like, you do know what Ojo Caliente is known for, don't you? And I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, well, Geronimo, for example, used to go there to be rebirthed. He's like, Native Americans in the area, we know to go there for a rebirthing.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly that sensation of I let something go was a rebirth, I think. Wow. And then a couple of years later at a party, I met somebody who was in, because back then the rebirthing thing was popular. People would pay to have somebody help you rebirth back then. Yes. And in California, So this person was into rebirthing, and I told them all the physical signs that had happened, stuff like that, and she's like, yeah, she's like, that's classic rebirthing symptoms, actually, what you experienced. So. But the extra cool thing, there's many, I just love how things align that you're supposed to have happen. So I was wiped out though so that day, I learned, okay, it's rebirthing, well, that was cool. But I was so physically exhausted. I just wanted to sleep for 48 hours because my physical body had been through so much stress. But these Tibetan monks just happened to be in Taos that night. So they had been traveling the United States and they had gone through Los Angeles, and I had wanted to go see them when they were in California, but I just wasn't able to make it. But they had stopped in Taos that particular night to do kind of a talk and a demonstration of that tonal chord throat singing they do that's so freaking amazing. I still don't know how they do it. I can't, but it's very powerful. And so when I heard they were in Taos, I go, I need to go. I know I feel like crap. I really shouldn't go, but I need to go. They're here today. I need to go. So I dragged myself to the event, and it was interesting because when they were doing that tonal chording, throat singing stuff, I could feel it vibrating me. If you've ever been in a room with that, if you feel it going through you, it's affecting you on a vibratory level. And it was amazing. And to be honest, by the end of the meeting, I felt better. I already felt better by the end of the meeting. I was still a little tired, but I felt a lot better. And so I went back to the youth hostel, passed out, and then slept for like 12 hours straight or something. And then by the next day, I felt normal again. I was totally okay. But what I loved, another thing that I loved is that the Tibetans said that they loved Taos because they said it reminded them of Tibet. And supposedly, I think, I need to validate this, but I think Taos and Tibet are on some same ley line or something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think they're on some same major power line. But they just fell. So even the traveling monks fell in love with Taos because they said they felt like they were home.
It's interesting when I tune into Taos, it feels like an energy void that it just feels like an open energetic space where like your stuff comes up. That's what it feels like.
It's known for that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It is
tuning in.
Yeah, can be Taos. It's interesting because Taos will call people to it, but sometimes they'll definitely be called because they have a really weird story about how they ended up there. But then they have a lot of really bad stuff happen.
Because it brings up their stuff. All their stuff is unplugged. I've experienced that before.
Yeah, it can make you, a place can trigger you to have to deal with your junk to clear it out. And it may not be fun, but it's for your highest good.
Right, exactly. It's your time to do that. Miss Linda, do you have thoughts about Ojo Caliente or any of what Miss Atheria has shared here?
Yeah, there are a lot of places in the Southwest that I think have vortexes that are very high in energy. And, I've come across a lot of them when I was there, and you could just feel it. You feel when you get it, if you're in tune at all, you feel it as you're there. And so I think that's completely, and it'll bring up good, bad, and
like
it's
you're
a lot of where you are, and there's no good or bad. It's just, it's bringing you to your next level of learning. And Preston, I'm curious for you, like, is what I love is the sequential piece of everybody showing up when she needed it. In the people that you talk with, do you hear that a lot from people that, and then this person just happened to show up, and this incident happened?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The synchronicity is absolutely amazing, particularly in this field and with people who are on the pathway towards spiritual enlightenment or waking up to contact. I've experienced this myself. There's absolutely a lot of guidance going on behind the scenes on the hands of not only, ETs, but our spirit friends. I think that's probably true with all of us in our life path. But it really ramps up when people start waking up to, their true selves, their true path in life. And and also just want to reiterate how amazing New Mexico is.
Yeah.
I do have friends there and friends in Taos, and have been there a number of times. It's is amazing.
Well, in a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago, I hadn't been back to Ojo Caliente in a long time, a really long time actually. And I went hiking in the mountains around the spa. And because there's supposedly a mine there. So I went looking for this mine that I heard about. And somehow I got totally lost. And because of where I was, I couldn't, and it was a cloudy day, I couldn't even tell where was east, north, south, west. I started to get scared. I'm like, I don't know where I am. And because a storm was coming, all of a sudden the storm front was coming in. And I didn't have food with me. I had nothing with me. And I'm like, this is not good. Because everything looked the same, so I couldn't tell which direction to go. And so I'm getting scared. And I'm like, this is not good. And all of a sudden I glanced down and wow, like, okay, Shirley MacLaine has said that New Mexico is built on a crystal bed, which I now believe it, because I looked down and everywhere, as far as I could see, were huge chunks of quartz. Like, I mean, big one. Like, some of them were this big, some were, tinier, but like, just, I'm standing surrounded by quartz going, wow, this, first of all, this is a gold mine. And secondly, wow. And, finally I did find, I found a riverbed, and I remember in some movie or something, they always said, follow a river and it will lead you to out of wherever you are. So I followed it down to a road and finally was able to get out, figure out where I was. But seeing tons of this just everywhere was amazing. And that also explains why Ojo Caliente has so much energy there.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. We should do a show on vortexes sometimes, because I think that would be fascinating, just to talk about the different vortexes and where they're at and what people experience. Well, but on this, we have got to wrap it up. We're about 10 till, so we've been almost going for 2 hours. And I just want to, say that, we have all of Miss Atheria's links below. So if you want to reach out to her, please grab a link. And then Linda, I wanted to toss you the mic to thank the people who have shown up for today.
Absolutely. Again, we had such great conversation in the live chat that kind of had its own life at times, and just really loved that our discussion here was sparking discussion there. So thank you everyone for being on such great live stream chatters. You guys are wonderful. And again, make sure you check the links below to learn more. Check out the YouTube channel. Preston, I can't wait to have you on the show again. You have so much wisdom within you. And thank you for joining us. Be sure everybody like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. And it's not just a thing, it's a way to help expand this consciousness into other people who may need a safe place to explore it. And that's what we create here, is a safe place to explore it. We're not
Amen.
asking you to buy into everything that happens here. It's a place for you to expand your curiosity. And when we do that, we open ourselves up to more joy. So thank you everyone for joining us. Make sure you join our Facebook group if you haven't. And I will see you next week.
Do you want to flip us into the Brady Bunch view?
Put us in the Brady Bunch so we can
Yay!
all say bye at the same time. Yay!
By the way, I'm going to be camping and talk about a power place, Chaco Canyon, on the 24th.
Ooh.
The last time I slept in Chaco Canyon, Alora came back and visited me there.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm hoping something happens. So
you need to put this into your YouTube video so we know. Oh, we're gonna say, Preston, I'm sorry.
And
Chaco
be in our
Canyon.
Facebook group so you can let us know.
Yeah. Chaco's very powerful.
Yep, been there. It's amazing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Atheria. It's been a blast riding your rocket ship with you through all your adventures. Thank you, Preston, for your wisdom and insight, and thank you, Linda, for your gorgeous heart and always bringing that into the show and bringing us balance and clarity as we move in these crazy conversations. And thank you, live streamers. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Bless you and have an awesome day. And Linda, you can take us out. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
You're welcome. It's been a blast.